The constitution is a performing constitution. Otherwise, it's a dead piece of paper. So that means that's why Dr. Ambedkar said, Indian constitution is nothing but federal structure. So the constitution should always try to readjust, compromise, reform, and adjust, amend itself towards achieving the aspirations of the people. I think it is that way we have to approach the constitution. And federalism should be upheld. And I really appreciate the organizer, especially Sardar Jeevan Singh Ji and his team, for organizing this event on the theme for a true federalism. As we witness these days, majoritarianism, totalitarianism, unitary approach, and highly intolerant establishment at the helm of affairs at the different states and as well at the national capital. I think that this is time now, after 75 years of Democratic Republic of India, since its inception, I think that it's overdue to evaluate and rate ourselves or introspect ourselves as to we really perform as a democratic republic. And I think that once in a while time goes, I think that we have to evaluate. We have to look back and see whether our constitution is performing or not. Do we have in the first place performing constitution? Or our constitution is doing its intended purpose and goals for which it has been constituted, formulated. And another issue that we need to evaluate our constitution is that the world is heading towards a large-scale transformation, especially world over. The humankind is heading for a radical topside-down change in the way in which it leads its life, in the way in which it exploits its natural resources, in the way in which the humankind involves in its production to satisfy its requirements. I think it is heading towards, as the chief economist won Nobel Prize this year, 2025, as they call it, creative destruction. Creative destruction means it is by innovation, technologically driven, the human production is going to be sustained. It's not based on the Marxian time labor. The human labor is now dominated by, as per in the words of the economist who won Nobel Prize this year, creative destruction. That means even Karl Marx has to be revisited now. The value of labor, Karl Marx defined those days about 200 years ago. I think it needs to be revisited. If that applies to the economy, constitutions are not just permanent. It's man-made. We made it. The preamble says, we the people of India, isn't it? So we the people of India, we want to look at it whether it serves us better or not. What is wrong in it? But if you put any sanctity and sacredness in the constitution, it is wrong. Constitution can never be static. If it doesn't perform, it is not for us. If constitution doesn't perform, it is not for us. It's not for this country. It's not for this polity. It's not for this society. Let us not put any sacredness and sanctity on anybody, even on Dr. Ambedkar. Just because he drafted the constitution and led this, let us not, even if Dr. Ambedkar is alive here and sit here, he would appreciate me for this talk. Because his vision was pure and it was never having any compromise on giving the right vision for this country, for this polity. He never failed because at that time there was an insistence. He had to compromise. He himself said, after drafting this constitution, he himself said that if the constitution were to be burnt, he would be the first person to burn. He himself. So I say that let us not shy away from revisiting the constitution now. We, the citizen of this country, we, the people of the country, now should do it with the advent of this new totalitarian approaches ever increasing in this country. I think that this is the right time. We have to create the debate all over. Each and every citizen of this country should be involved because this is very, very righteous time and right action, and this is the core. Because this is deciding the fate of our fundamental existence. The fundamental existence of all politics in this country. We have to. But over and above, the world is heading towards a new dimension. As I said, that based on the economic theory, creative destruction. That means technologically driven innovation is going to drive human production. So human production is altogether now getting changed. And eventually human relationships and human communications are also getting changed. A new life, a new way of acquiring things, tasting things, meeting our requirements, all are getting changed. So when things are getting changed, we cannot remain as static forever, hoping that things will come on its own and serve us in due course of time. I don't think that it will happen. It will never happen unless we sit on it and make an assertion and determination on it. Say, for instance, one thing. When societies are converging all over the world, societies are converging. In terms of values, we are sharing each other. Americans are sharing with Indians, with Chinese, and Chinese are sharing with the rest of the world. So the world is now converging now. Societies are converging, not nations. Nations are diverging now. The nations once talk about globalization, universalization, international trade, and the World Trade Organization, all nonsense of this World Trade Organization, you look at it, all were built upon globalization and universalization. But now the same countries who propelled, who propagated internationalization, globalization of all cultures, of trade, of business, of industries, of production, everything now, the same propellers are now talking against it, going for protectionism. Now the Trump, the United States of America, what it does? It is talking about protective trade, job protection, indigenous, US made. They never talk about US made, global made, world made so far. Now the same US is talking about US made. Our Indian guys are also talking about Indian made. Startup India, stand up India, this India, sit India, every India with one India. The same slogan is now spreading everywhere. The countries or now the superpowers so far are now looking inward looking. So far they have been outward looking to conquer the world. Now they are going through inward protectionism. And this is nations. But the society is opposite. The society is converging. Whatever I eat, Americans want to eat now. Whatever Americans eat, I want to eat now. Whatever the way we dress and they eat and we eat, and the cultural values are being shared and converged and blended. I think that the society is becoming more and more organic now, whereas the nations are static and inorganic. That means, what is the contrast and what is the reason for it? Why nations are diverging whereas societies are converging? I think that we have to look into it. Unless we look into it, the basic root cause of it, we would not know what we have here is federalism or Unitarianism. We may not. This is very important. Why societies are organic and becoming more and more merging, converging together as one and the same. Don't you see any? I think that the differences and gaps between societies are now coming close. Globally, I'm talking about. But the nations are diverging and going inward and segregating themselves. The reason is nations always wants to, the existential crisis. It's the existential crisis of the nation that nation wants to exist. And in order to want to exist, the nations consolidate. And the consolidation easily doesn't happen with, as the rulers and ruling establishments think, it doesn't happen easily with diversity. That is their notion. But the reality is, the easiest way is to indoctrinate, centralize, unionize, Unitarianize, and oneness. And everything they will try to do to consolidate. That is the existential crisis of nation. And the nations take their own stand. The American nationalism has its own flavor. That what Trump does, you know that. I think you are hearing. And what Modi does here is a Hindutva nation, Hindu Rashtra, Hindutva, based on the ideals of Hindutva. It's a cultural oneness. And they want to use the constitution to inculcate and sustain this oneness. But the constitution gives the fundamental rights to every citizen of this country in terms of practicing faith and religion, in terms of practicing education and educating themselves, in terms of practicing and preserving their cultural value systems and traditions, and in terms of holding their natural resources and land and everything. But whether it is practiced there or not, that is the question. But fundamentally, I have a problem with the Constitution itself that I'm going to come out with a little bit. But the Constitution, the idea, the theme and spirit of the Constitution is based on the polities of this country. As our guest speakers, our distinguished speakers mentioned that we have nations, it is a nation of nations, as Dr. Ambedkar said. It's a nation of nations. Nations means polity. So that means how nations are formed is the question now. Nations evolve with distinct polities or polity, singular. If we have a uniform cultural value systems, traditions, these, that, religiosity, everything, then unitary system of governance and constitution is enough. But in case if we have polities of different diverse polities in the country with the different, traditions, culture, value, languages, religions, and so on, that means different polities, diverse polities, which are diametrically opposing each other. And these polities should be reflected in the formation of the nationhood. Did it happen in this country? At the outset, I would like to submit to all before you, our constitution does not. I am going to establish it in the next half an hour. I am going to establish, you might differ from me, or I'm just proposing to the fellow citizens and the legal lawyers of this country, nearby the Supreme Court is also there, let them also hear this and answer me. I will be educated. Nations evolve with distinct polities, that is the underline. Polities evolve with distinct societies. Polities do not come without societies. And based on the notion of societies, polities evolve. Polity as a Tamilian, as a linguistically, Tamil Nadu, Gujarati, Bengali. Bengali doesn't mean just people speaking Bengal. Or Tamil doesn't mean just speaking Tamil. It has a language. It has culture. It has values. It has tradition. It has knowledge. Same applies to Punjab. Everybody in this country. Every polity is entitled to have its own notion. And that notion is the face value of the polity. My question to the constitutional experts in this country is that whether the constitution of this country reflects these polities, diverse polities or not. That's why I said that at the outset, not. So I said that the polities evolve with the distinct societies, with the notion of respective notion of societies, means then the polities get nationhood with defined constitution. As a result, constitution is a result of notion of societies, isn't it? If polities are defined by notion of societies and constitution is a result of notion of societies. I have a notion from Tamil Nadu. Punjabis have a notion from Tamil Nadu. Hindus have a notion. Sikhs have a notion. Every diverse walks of this country have notion. And these notions should be reflected in the fundamental principles and frameworks of any constitution that we intend to have. And we must also practice it. Only then I can accept that the constitution is a performing constitution. Otherwise, it's a dead piece of paper. If it doesn't perform, it's a dead piece of paper. How can I respect the constitution if that constitution doesn't perform then? In the most intended way as the architects have defined it. One mistake Dr. Ambedkar did, I would say, sorry, I take advantage, is that he thought that the constitution caretakers, custodians, I mean those at the establishments, at the helm of affairs, he had a high regard for them. He thought that they would preserve and they would show restraint in executing the constitutional provisions by holding the helm of affairs, by being the president, by being prime minister, by being state chief ministers, governors. He thought that he put the highest esteem on these people. That is the mistake Dr. Ambedkar did. But sometimes rascals, rowdies and crooks also occupy these highest offices. What would happen then? We cannot take a chance. So now the constitution is, the execution and the operation of the constitution is now left to the whims and fancy of the crooks holding the offices, the highest offices. I mean the custodian of the constitution. I think it must be stopped. It must be stopped. So that if polities are diverse, and constitution should show diversity. Now come to the point here now, whether our constitution is federal or not. Diverse polities need federal structure of governance. That is the equation, that is the linkage that the world has accepted. You and me, everyone in this country know that we are of diverse polities. Even though we have common aspirations, we have some similarities and commonalities, but we, are very much diverse. And that should be reflected. So that means that's why Dr. Ambedkar said, Indian constitution is nothing but federal structure. But when, throughout, in normal times, the same architect said, in normal times it's federal in structure, federal in nature, but at times of crisis and emergency, it would be unitary. That is the dual facets of the Indian constitution. That is the speciality no constitution in the world has. The American constitution is very much static. The American constitution is very much federal. It cannot adjust itself when in times of crisis, in times of emergency. It's categorical. But the Indian constitution can be dual. It can be unitary and it can be federal. Dr. Ambedkar said. But I want to test the constitution today in another 10-15 minutes. I want to test it with respect to two dimensions. The first dimension is whether this constitution fulfills the diverse polities of this country. The due characteristics of the diverse polities of this country. Does it have any regard to this? Or it disrespect? If it disrespect, I want to throw this constitution out of this country and I would like to seek a new constitution for this country, in case. But otherwise, in case if it needs modifications or some adjustments, we will go for it. Otherwise, the same constitution, if it continues like this, non-performing, non-operational, and non-serving the diverse polities of this country, this constitution is waste. As a common man, I'm not a legal expert. I'm asking questions. I'm testing the constitution today. I want experts to enlighten me and educate me. If you have answers. I never seen these answers in any of the Supreme Court verdicts, the constitutional benches. The Supreme Courts and High Courts on constitutional matters are looking or reading between lines. As if we do not understand English, isn't it? Constitution is not a linguistic issue. Hermeneutics. In philosophy, we call it like a hermeneutics. Hermeneutics means interpretation of knowledge, of words. Are they English experts, the Supreme Court judges, the constitutional benches? Just to read between words and then explain and literally find the loopholes in favor of the ruling establishments. English experts, they are not legal experts to me. Let the Supreme Court judges put me, answer me, ask me a question. I'm prepared to ask questions and debate with them also as a layman, as a common citizen of this country. I'm prepared. Let them answer me, because I never seen in any of this, except reading words and lines in between, find the loopholes in favor of the ruling establishments. Because the questions I am looking for is not simply sharing of center-state relations, sharing of power between center and state, but whether these judgments that they have made on constitutional issues so far, did they answer the diverse polities, the due characteristics of the polities of this country, different polities of this country? If it comes to Punjab, comes to UP, comes to Tamil Nadu, there is a polity. The constitutional bench cannot just disown, ignore the due characteristics of that polity on which the constitutional benches deliver the verdict. So I take, for instance, take the polities. Punjab, Gujarat, Bengal, Tamil Nadu, all have different facets of life and different political characteristics, social characteristics, economic characteristics. And just by having one common sentence, you cannot read in between lines when it comes to issues with them in the court of law. So that means let's say, take for instance Tamil Nadu. When every state is capable, has the potential to cultivate its own destiny in terms of culture, in terms of religiosity, in terms of values, in terms of tradition, in terms of jobs, in terms of economy, economic growth, in terms of education. Why on earth we need a central government to sit there and talk about Tamil Nadu, Punjab, and Gujarat and Uttar Pradesh? Why? Don't you think that Tamil Nadu knows better than the people at Delhi or at the ruling establishment at Delhi on the flora, fauna that exists, the natural resources in Tamil Nadu, how to exploit it? Why environmental laws are made common? My question to that. Why environmental laws are made common? Why the union government is attempting to pass bills on the farming matters, agriculture? You have witnessed. Hundreds of my Punjabi brothers, how they, sacrifice their life just nearby. And the central government, just shied away, gone away out of it. What it shows, you are encroaching upon the diverse polity owned by the owner of that polity. For agriculture in Punjab, the owner of the agriculture in Punjab is the Punjabis, not the central government. How dare you encroach, violate the constitution and encroach upon Punjab, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat? Why? That is wrong. That is not federalism. It is not federalism. So constitution now is failing now. Inoperational. So Tamil Nadu again. Tamil Nadu in education. Tamil Nadu comparatively, even though I criticize my government in Tamil Nadu, the Chief Minister Stalin, I criticize him. But Tamil Nadu consistently showed progress in all dimensions. This is one of the first, economically grown states in entire India now. Now, consistently. Go and see the infrastructure. It's one of the best infrastructures. In all respect, it has. Comparatively, even though there are missteps there, I am commenting within Tamil Nadu. And education, 52% gross enrollment ratio in higher education already achieved in Tamil Nadu, equivalent to New York. Even though it is failing in many aspects of education, but comparatively, the average gross enrollment ratio in India is 27%. Tamil Nadu, 52%. Then why do you want to tell us you educate this way or that way? Why NCERT is infiltrating into it? Why UGC is infiltrating into Tamil Nadu and telling us how to educate my children? Why? Tell me. We are already grown, better than you. But you are coming and telling us through national education policy, the next month there is one bill is going to be passed. National, Higher Education Council. You know what? When national education policy was, released, the draft was released. in 2019, in the proposal, Prime Minister was, the chairman of National Higher Education Council. They said that National Higher Education Commission, but now they changed National Higher Education Council. Prime Minister, National Education Commission, not higher education alone. And I saw the history, seen only Hitler. Hitler was the chairman of Education Council when he was heading Germany. And India attempted to have the Prime Minister here to head education, as if he is the educationist. This is the problem. So there is a polity. Education is a state matter. 1935 India Act. I would say this present constitution is less federal than the 1935 India Act. Honestly. Education, land, health, agriculture, all belong to state. All belong to state in 1935. But why it did not happen in 1950? What had happened in 15 years? So the polity is lost now. If Punjab is not able to exercise its own aspirations, its people aspiration on education, on language, on its tradition, on its religiosity, then why do you need to be part of this constitution then? When you do not have a space, when Tamil Nadu doesn't have a space, and when Bengal doesn't have a space in exercising its own aspiration, its people's aspiration, its own polity, then this question comes. So these are the questions that we have to ask now. We have to ask now. And one thing that the Article 25 on religion, practice of religion and faith. And there is a say in Article 25, subclass 2B, you look at that Hindu section, is referred to all religions, including Buddhism, Jainism, and Sikhism. Can we say that Hinduism and Sikhism, Hinduism and Buddhism are one and the same? Diametrically opposing each other. That is why Ambedkar left Hinduism and then embraced Buddhism. The architect of this country. Then how it finds the space there? Lot of backdrop compromises there. These are all the questions now we have to ask and then resolve, and by all resolution and assertive approach we have to determine ourselves now. This is regarding the politics. And the fundamental creation of the constitution, I think that who are the members of the Constituent Assembly? Were they truly the representatives of diverse polities of this country? When they were elected as constituent members, members of Constituent Assembly, and the Constituent Assembly was responsible for forming this constitution, isn't it? And if they are truly the representative of the Indian polities, the diverse polities, then I would agree. They were not truly representing the people, the polities of this country. Now, how do you expect one Dr. Ambedkar to sit there and to resolve everything? These are the fundamental questions before us even today after 75 years of, Democratic Republic of India. 75 years. It's too long. The other issue is, we have to see the center-state relations, the power sharing, what our constitution says. See, we have 3 lists: state list, central list, and concurrent list. My first question is, why do we need to have a concurrent list then? Why? Why should we have a concurrent list? See, there is one provision in United States, even in India, residuary power. Residuary power. Residuary power means the powers not noticed in the Constitution, in letter and spirit. And those unnoticed, undefined powers, these are residuary powers, and in the United States, these powers automatically are vested with the state governments. If there is no power, mentioned between center-state relations, it lies with the state, not with the center. Whereas in India, it is opposite. Whatever not stipulated, the residuary powers, the powers not stipulated in the constitution are vested with the center, not with the state. Center has power, state has power, and both can enact laws, legislate, and in case there is conflict and controversies and conflicting each other, they can go to the court. The court can interpret it if anyone violates. And why do you want to have a superlative degree for central government? On all matters, see, one thing is that, okay, the states have their own list 2. And they have the powers. And within the powers, stipulated powers, they can make legislations and laws. Every state. And when they are making these, why should they go to the President of India through the chieftain, the broker, governor? The governors are brokers. Why should they go through the governor for president assent, for enacting laws? Why? Because it is there. If a state, violates the constitution, anyone can go to the court. A common man can go to the court. So when provisions are there, why? Unnecessarily. So this is the superlative degree of the Indian constitution that is vesting on the central powers. I just quote a couple of laws. See, Article 256, obligation of states in the union. Article 257, control of union over states in certain cases. Article 339, control of the union over the administration of scheduled areas and welfare of scheduled tribes. And Article 344, commission and committee of Parliament on official language. Article 365, effect of failure to comply with or to give effect to directions given by the union. Article 249, power of Parliament to legislate with respect to a matter in the state list in the national interest. Wow, what do you mean by national interest? The Supreme Court judges will define what that interest is. Interpretation. It is just a matter of interpretation conveniently. And then Article 252, power of Parliament to legislate for 2 or more states by consent and adoption of such legislation by any other state. Article 287, exemption from taxes on electricity. Article 222, transfer of a judge from one high court to another, judiciary. Article 356, you know that, what it is. Over 90 times the central government has dismissed state governments using this article. And there are so much of articles there. I have a list of so many things. And Article 357, exercise of legislative powers under proclamation issued under Article 356. There are so much of powers vested with the center, even though states have their own powers in list 2. The same thing is happening now in education. Education, the central government is vested with articles, entry in list 1, entry 63 to 66, entitled empower the central government to set standards and coordination and setting standards in education. But the states, entry 32 in list 2, are empowered to establish, to regulate, to run education. It's still there. Just because entry 25 in the concurrent list, recently in the 42nd Amendment, added the key words, only 2 words added, university and education, medical education, engineering education, and so on. University and education, 2 words were added in entry 25. in the concurrent list. And just because of that, the central government does its excess everywhere in education, using that concurrent provisions, and sabotage the state governments. See now, there are 14 universities, approximately, I think that if I remember correctly, there are 14 universities in Tamil Nadu, do not have vice chancellors for the last 3 years. I am a vice chancellor. Can you run a university without vice chancellor? Why? Because center is dominating. And center doesn't approve the bills passed in the state assembly of Tamil Nadu. All are pending there. When we go to the court says we cannot put a timeline for the President of India and the governor of states to dispose the bills. Why, sir? Are they servant or God of this country? Is President of India the God of this country or servant of this country? I am the citizen. I am asking the President here in the headquarters, Delhi. I am asking you, madam, are you my servant or are you my God? Are you superior than me? Tell me now. Let the Supreme Court answer my question. Answer my question. My children in Tamil Nadu are suffering from lack of governance of universities in the most efficient manner. And we do not have vice chancellors. But your governor, your broker, I think, the mediator, your representative, your agent is sitting in Chennai and sabotaging this process. I want answer. Your governor is greater? Your president is greater than the people of Tamil Nadu or people of Punjab or people of Kerala, Bengal? Hey, you are putting sacredness and sanctity on these positions. That is wrong. Constitution doesn't say. Why do you want to protect? Why do you put sacredness in these jobs, on these jobs? President doesn't mean you are not supposed to, show any holiness to these positions because they are servant. You show your holiness to your gods. I have no problem because I never seen my God yet. But the president and governors are my servants. They are supposed to serve me. They cannot sit on me for 3 years and 4 years on major, pertinent, important, critical bills. Without that, my state is destabilizing. We are not supposed to deliver the mandates of the people. These are the major questions. So, you see, what are the bills? The anti-federal bills. I also quote some things. Everywhere they form all state matters. Agriculture, education, economy, taxation. Everywhere you are on us, on the states. But you still call it as a federal. The recent things, Constitution 130th Amendment Bill 2025. Removal of Prime Ministers, Chief Ministers and other ministers. It is in the bill form now. Government of Union Territories Bill 2025. Jammu Kashmir Reorganization Amendment Bill 2025. Waqf Board Bill 2025. Taxation laws. These are all in this year. In 2023, about 30 bills were enacted as laws without any debate, in no time, in one motion. Where is the diversity, sir? Where did you consider the polities of the affected, concerned polities? I mean states. And you know that Citizenship Amendment Act, the role of state governments, what? And now SIR is going on. Where is the role of the state? You as a police officer, DGP, Director General of Police, you just come and then invade every state and you are doing your own job without having any consultations, without having any coordination with the concerned states. Who knows whether you are citizen or not? States or central government? Even though the center is empowered to, on citizenship. But who does? State only. My village administrative officer knows that whether I am a citizen there or not in my village. The Prime Minister or the Election Commission doesn't know who is the citizen. Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Act, thrown out, 2020. 3 farm bills. A lot of bills. They are all against the Constitution actually. But why then, when we go to the Supreme Court, we get some other kind of verdicts and directions? What is happening? Whether in this country, I think that most of the founding institutions of the Constitution, the pillars of these constitutions are nowadays deteriorating and started failing. To show restraint, to show justice. They failed to show justice and show restraint. So these are all the major environmental bills and every bills. So that means that I just would like to appeal to the fellow citizens of my country. This is what Rajamannar Committee, the first ever committee constituted in this country in the year, I think, 1967. And this report was submitted on during 1971 by Tamil Nadu government. This is the founding report for all reorganization, of the constitution committees, commissions established by the central government. See, there was the Sarkaria Commission in 1983, I think submitted by 1988. And then Punch Commission. And it was in 2007, and they submitted 2010. And all these further committees established by the central government reflected Rajamannar Committee's report. And all these, I told you now, all these anti-federal laws and bills and initiatives and schemes and regulations by the central government consistently in the last 75 years were highlighted about 50 years ago. 50 years ago. And in the concurrent list, a lot of entries. Entry 5, 8, 17, 19, 22, 23, 24, 25. 25 is education. 28, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 42. All these Rajamannar Committee said in 1971, throw this away from Constitution. Throw this away from Constitution or modify them accordingly, amend them suitably to ensure federalism. Did you do that? And same was reflected by Sarkaria Commission and Punch Commission. Most of them align with that. But your own commissions you are not listening to. What is happening now? Then why do you have all these recommendations? You think that your 543 MPs and the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers are experts. You are representatives of people, understand. You are not legal experts. You are not constitutional experts. You have to listen whether Constitution works or not and make amendments suitably or throw the certain provisions if they do not serve the purpose. And this is what. And finally, I just would like to conclude. So one thing is that we have seen a lot of things in the past. And we are now seeing more and more Unitarianism and totalitarianism and majoritarianism in the bills and laws being passed and regulations being implemented. And executives are the executive authorities, judiciary, election commission, and other major pillars of the constitutions are not showing enough restraint to ensure the constitutional provisions work and to ensure the basic provisions of the federalism. So that means, to conclude that, I would like to say that, as I just said in the beginning, I would like to comment on, just to highlight, reiterate, the society is the basic unit of the polity. And the notion of society identifies the polity. And polity is a distinct, unit for the formation of the Constitution. In this lineage, I think that we have to ensure our constitution works. Whatever the bills, whatever the laws and regulations we adapt and implement in this country should align with this lineage. Otherwise, the polity's directions, the polity's aspirations, the polity's goals will not be met. So, one thing is that nation doesn't exist only by constitution. That is one of the important points. But the preservation and protection of polities through the means of constitution is the way to ensure that the nation exists and the nation serves all of us. That means in this way, nation is a collective notions of societies. I mean polities. Collective notion of polities. That means nation is a notion. And notion means notion of people, notion of society, and that is at most important than the constitution. So the constitution should always try to readjust, compromise, reform, and adjust, amend itself towards achieving the aspirations of the people. I think it is that way we have to approach the constitution. And federalism should be upheld in diverse polities. And because the notion of society has different diverse dimensions like culture, economy, education, flora, fauna, environment, and values, everything, and the state is the primary unit to ensure that it happens. So that means the state must have more freedom, more authorities, and more power. So at this time of crisis, I would like to bring back recommendations done by all these three commissions and elimination of presidents or governors' roles on state legislative. And that is one of the recommendations. And the dual judiciary, that was also one of the recommendations in Rajmanar committee, that whatever the issues, the civil laws, criminal laws, whatever the laws that are applicable to, or the certain legalities applicable to, specific to certain states, I think that the state judiciary will be more the right avenue to discourse or dispose on those matters. And like United States, Rajmanar committee proposed it. And then bring all vital areas of respective polities, culture, value, language, tradition, whatever religion also, and economy, jobs, industries, and production all should come under the states list. Only then the states can organically grow, and why not? India is now just only 4.44 plus GDP, billion. Is fit now to become more than $10 trillion economy if it is allowed through federal structure. Likewise, UP can make $20 trillion, dollar GDP worth, and Punjab and everybody. So I think that if you allow states to have more freedom through more and more federal provisions, the states will be better, and as a nation, India will be one of the best countries in the world, and it is cooperative federalism is the intermediate solution, if not full federalism. That is complete distinct duality. And at least cooperative federalism is the result, and we have to ensure that. And let us see in due course of time in future that we all work and then we sensitize the people, and the people of India, pressurize the elected members and lawmakers to do this. I hope that this will be heard, and whatever I said now could be right or wrong. And it is my personal assertion, and I'm willing to get more answers and more clarity from people so that I will be educated, and by that, everyone will have an opportunity to be educated. Thank you very much for the time. Thanks a lot.
We can create even casteless society only by becoming rulers of India.